Hi, friends. It's Heidi M sitting virtually with two people from the Toronto Dance Theatre Company here in Toronto, Canada. Andrew and Fran, lovely to virtually meet you, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Hi.
Hi. So we're going to be speaking about your works that are part of the TDT's Winter Double Bill. So they are Face Writer from Fran and Odd Sensual from Andrew. Before we actually get into the details of the performances, maybe I can have each of you give us a bit of an introduction. I know, Andrew, you're the artistic director at TDT, but, a little bit of background in terms of your performance art and where you're at right now.
Yeah.
You go.
I'm Andrew. I am the artistic director of TDT. I took over the artistic directorship of the company during the pandemic. So really starting to feel like we're just getting back into the swing of, hosting publics back again at kind of a normal capacity. And I'm a choreographer, I am a performer, I'm sometimes a DJ. For this particular work, I am choreographing half of the double bill. I guess I can, about my choreographic and performance practice, I like to work with, I would say that I come from an experimental and queer performance background. And I was based in Montreal for 20 something years before coming to Toronto. And yeah, I'm really into kind of bold experimentation in contemporary aesthetics of performance. And I also, as a curator, I really love to support the work of a really broad and diverse range of practices. And I think for me, it's really important, especially in Toronto, as the name of the company is Toronto Dance Theatre, for me and the company to be in reflection of what are the current practices that are percolating and that are relevant within the Toronto dance scene.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm recalling some of the events from last year too, and then they're also Toronto centric, but also really cool. So thank you for that. What about you, Fran?
Hi, I'm Fran. I've always been based here in Toronto. Been working as a dancer, a dance maker, but also heavily involved in photography, videography, and digital image making. My work really privileges collaboration with another artist that goes by Drift Note, who is a visual artist in their own respect, and also a sound designer and composer. So a lot of my work kind of focuses first on the sound and visual aspects, maybe even before the quote unquote dancing part. But it's a way for me to enter the embodied part of the work from kind of through a different door. And I've been very lucky through my photography work as well to be supporting many other artists in Toronto, whether it's through marketing of their work, through archival, kind of giving them like visual feedback, being a part of the process from beginning to end. And the years of freelancing in that capacity has definitely had a huge impact on the way that I work inside of my own work. And yeah, it's I like to work on the visual and audio aspect the most. But yeah, I get the most excited about.
That's so cool to hear, right? Because oftentimes, we can read a bio, but there's also so much going on behind the scenes in terms of the work that you do and how you got to where you are. So maybe I'm going to start with Andrew a little bit here in terms of, deciding some of the programming, like this winter double bill, and what happens? Is it the scheduling of maybe who's available? And also, or is it where projects are at? Both of you could speak to this, obviously, but I'm just starting with Andrew because, you are artistic director.
Yeah, I think each season is different when I'm thinking about like curating programming. The last season was really thinking about like intersections of different dance practices and different communities. And this season, I think that I was really thinking about like offering multiple perspectives in the season and thinking about the idea of sharing space in a certain way. The facilities that we have here, with the school finding their own facility, we have more space. So it was important for me to invite like different perspectives on dance making throughout the season. And so we're doing two double bills, so it's a little bit more programming, in a certain sense, of more choreographers involved. And then
Right.
also, through all of our other programs that we're doing throughout the season outside of the production projects, like we offer like a huge range of artist development programs, residencies, a new affiliate artist program, technical residencies for the first time this season. So really think about this idea of sharing space. And then with these particular works this season, I would say that this first production is really, I would say, centered around queer performance aesthetics, which for me is really important because it's a world that I come from. I have worked with Fran. Fran has been supporting a lot of the artists at TDT. They didn't mention it, but they do a lot of work in the digital sphere. And that I think heavily influences their work. And they've been able to work with artists around speaking about how the digital, whether working in the digital realm itself, like through video, online, social media, how that affects dramaturgically their artistic practices, but also how it affects like live performance,
yeah.
like how the digital actually affects live performance. So I was really excited by their work. And then the second double bill of the season is with artists that we've been building a relationship with at TDT. One's by Yuichiro Inoue, who has been a company member for 17 seasons, I think, and is making a work for the first time on the company. And then the other work is by Kinaj, which is a street dance duo who are working kind of contemporary thinking around street dance aesthetics and ways to approach it. And they're working with folks who are from the street dance community to create like a more full-length work, which is really exciting.
Very exciting. Excellent.
But I will say all the things you're talking about come into play.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a throwaway for a question, right?
Availability, what feels important, how is the relationship built? I think is really important. I think especially when we're inviting practices that are maybe, which I often like to support, which are maybe not necessarily the traditional route of creating or the traditional route of the way that the forms express themselves. The way that we build the relationships is also really important in considering programming for me.
No, I think it's key. Absolutely. Sorry, Fran, did you want to add anything?
No, I agree. I'm really happy to be a part of this double bill. I mean, this work that will be premiering on Thursday is something that has been in development since January 2019. It was originally a solo work being supported by Dance Makers Center for Creation. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. And fast forward to now, yeah, it's had an opportunity to have a second life, second, third, fourth, actually kind of life through TDT. And across the pandemic, I had a lot of opportunities to, again, do different life cycles of this face rider work. There was like multiple opportunities to do digital iterations and then some like smaller live performance opportunities. But I'm really excited that Toronto Dance Theatre and Andrew has kind of like given me and the rest of the collaborators an opportunity to have it like meet a public in this way. Have it like finally be kind of like in the analog.
And I'd also like to mention that the collaborators that Fran's working with, Driftnote and Angela, TDT has been collaborating with since I arrived. They're artists that I've also been following. So it's great to support a project that kind of involves like this community of artists that we've been following and collaborating with. Driftnote has done our all of our visual languaging and the videos that you see for our season trailers and things like that. Driftnote has done all of the animation for, and Angela has done costumes for the Magic of Assembly project that we recently did. So it's great to kind of, again, continue building these relationships with folks.
Thank you for mentioning them, because I was going to ask about this collaboration. Was it something that sort of evolved over the last few years, Fran, because you have been involved with TDT and sort of what their role is in Face Rider?
I mean, Driftnote and I have been working together since 2016, and specifically through video and music composition for a video, or site-specific installation and music for site-specific installation, or video projection and video mapping. So we had been working together in that capacity for quite a while. And then once I was at Dance Makers with a emerging artist residency, it just made sense to continue working with them on a live show that at that time, again, would have been a solo for myself. And kind of very randomly, I got a message from Angela on Instagram being like, hey, we went to school together. I would love to make something for you. And so that was kind of the beginning of our collaboration as well. So again, these relationships have been seeds since at least 5 or 6 years and beyond that. So I think between the three of us, there's definitely like a really specific shorthand about what kind of sensibilities, what our values, what we feel like is most important to work towards. And with the two of them, it's kind of been like the gem of this entire process from 2019 across the pandemic and now into this very different phase of the project. Their contributions, and I feel like everybody will see it and hear it and feel it, that they are the gems of the work. To be honest, that was really what I wanted to shine. Plus all the dancers, plus everyone's collective energy, plus but yeah, I'm very grateful to have them.
No, it sounds very exciting. And also, the importance that the arts, even when we are experiencing what we think might be a solo short, it really is about community that is kind of holding you up while you're on stage or whatever it is you're doing, it's key.
Yeah.
So I want to mention Art Central here, Andrew, and sort of where that came from. And I think it's a piece that involves some dancers as well, right? That are kind of working together. And I kind of want to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I'm working with 4 members of the TDT ensemble, Megumi, Yuichiro, Peter, Aaron. And it's really interesting because I think I've been developing relationships with these folks since I arrived as artistic director. And this is the first kind of project where I'm the only lead on the choreographic end. But I do want to stress that also this project was developed through conversation with the artists. When we started the project, we were having conversations around what's happening at the moment before the body finds release. And we talked about different kind of states of release, crying, orgasm, grieving.
Right.
And so we tried different approaches, and through our conversations, we kind of landed on this practice of rocking and using the floor to summon really simple movements. So in this work, you're going to see the performers practice both individually and collectively in the same space on this practice of kind of trying to sit in where is the moment where things tip over.
Mm.
And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about like both physically, because when you're rocking, there's like the edges of like where the body will actually tip when we submit to gravity. So they really play with that for themselves, and they play with that also collectively in more collective structures involving touch. And I think it's really interesting because through these really small shifts of gravity, it enables like the imagination to see all kinds of things like reflection,
Right.
like grief, play, sensuality, sexuality. And really, I kind of, in a lot of my other works, I think my I like to push edges. I like to like really test limits, but I think in my other works, it's a lot harder. And this one is really, I think, about people feeling these soft edges of
Right.
where things are kind of about to tip and being able to carefully play with that with each other.
Mm.
So I think it's a really different work for me, which is a little bit nerve-wracking to propose in front of the public, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited to sit in the kind of sense of time that playing with that tipping point kind of creates choreographically and for the audience to experience.
For sure. And in thinking of that experience, how do you, I'm assuming that, I guess, from performance to performance or like day to day, then the audience's reactions might also kind of feed into what's happening, right? And I think that's also, I just want to say that out loud because I think that's part of going to these shows in person that, I've missed too, in terms of, how am I feeling at this point because I'm experiencing what's happening in front of me, right? So it's really key. Fran, what are you thinking in terms of, or what are you hoping in terms of audiences' experiences with your piece-based writer, or what do we walk away with? Doesn't have to be like a specific thing, but it's just something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm number one, like really excited for it to again meet a public in this way. I think because there has been this like start, stop, put it down, pick it back up, rework it, reimagine it, dream about it kind of approach over the last 5 years. People will definitely feel that, I think, in the rhythm of the work. I think in contrast to what Andrew just described, I think the rhythm of our two pieces is like quite different. So overall, I think the show offers or holds a lot of questions in relation to time, rhythm, and how performativity is like connected to those two things, like specifically. For me, there's also like a lot of things that are like grotesque. There's joy, there's what else is there? There's comedy, there's things that are playing with like literal tropes in theater, whether it's like the production elements or it's in, again, back to the embodied like performativity of some tropes. So it really is not a slow cooker piece. It is like tapas, like all these little side dishes that have kind of been put together. So yeah, I guess come with the idea of that kind of meal, I guess, for a face rider. But I also think with that, like there is like this unresolvable feeling for me. I'm in the work as well, so there is an ambiguity of like how it really does feel, or how people really can experience it from the outside. So I'm ready for people's feedback.
That's
both
good.
both moment to moment and then afterwards, I'm ready for that like immediate kind of like response or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm understanding that the performances are going to be 2 weekends, like this weekend and the weekend after, and the idea is that to also make it accessible. There's going to be one live stream. Is this something that is maybe, I guess, Andrew, maybe you could answer. Is this something that you're striving for in terms of accessibility? You know, maybe not everybody can make it on site. There's a live stream and also affordability.
Yeah, so I'm definitely thinking about all of those things. For me, it's really important to privilege the idea of more folks seeing live performance.
Mhm.
Especially like at this time, it feels really important. And so I am in a reflection around like, oh, how to, you know, decrease barriers wherever possible. So like for all of this season and for the last season as well, and I think we're going to continue, all of our tickets are at a sliding scale
Mhm.
price. So you can choose the price that you pay for the tickets. And I think that's been really great. And also just making people feel welcome to be able to come and see, especially when we're talking about maybe more like non-traditional modes of presentation.
Right.
It kind of like lets people feel a little bit more like if they're curious, they feel like it's less of a risk,
Yeah.
especially financially. And I do like, you know, we have to acknowledge those factors come into play when people are deciding whether they're going to experience performance. And then with the live stream option, for sure, I think that it's important for me. You know, this building is that we are housed in is an inaccessible building. It's not wheelchair accessible. It's a historic building that, you know, is historically protected and has a lot of complications about stations. It will probably be one of my lifetime legacies to think about accessibility in this space.
Right.
So wherever we can provide options for accessibility for folks who can't be here physically, with the live stream option, we have ASL interpretation. Also, one of the nights we offer that one of every main stage performance that we've been doing since I arrived. And then we also do some shows that are outside of our walls that do offer physical accessibility. So it's something obviously that I'm thinking about a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I think that's essential, and I mean I appreciate it from an audience point of view too, and with friends who might also need some accessibility, you know, or some certain access, I should say.
And I
Um,
will also mention in terms of access, just around these works particular, I do
as-
think it's important to advise everyone that there are elements of this work, fragrance,
oh yeah,
there's heavy smoke and haze effects. The sound is really loud as a way for folks to feel it. So the
Mm.
live stream also offers the possibility for folks who may be sensitive to those things to be able to experience the work at their own level and at their own capacity of where they're at.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for noticing that. I did notice that on the site, on the website, so it's always good to remind folks of their own comfort level and, you know, and I guess their own boundaries as well. So, you know, I'm mindful of time, but if people want to follow any of your work, I know the tdt.org website is there, but Andrew, how do people find more about you and Fran after if you want to do some plugs?
Sure. I mean, you can check my Instagram at choreography is happening. And of course, TDT's website. Yeah. And follow for all kinds of information on upcoming events at TDT and also just other stuff happening in the community and calls to artists, all of
Right.
that stuff if
Mhm.
you want to get involved with what's happening here with the organization.
Excellent. I'll be sure to tag.
Cool. Yeah, just follow me on Instagram. So my Instagram is Franz and Friends. So FRANZN and then Friends.
Mhm.
And that's like the best way to follow me and my work, both in like photography, performance, and dance making, and all my collaborations. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you both so much for your generous
I
time.
just Should
And
I just
Andrew,
mention
yes.
one more thing before
Yeah,
before this ends? Just to maybe, you know, pique audiences' interest in coming to see the
of
show.
course.
That I think that this double bill is really exciting because especially for folks who've been coming to see shows at TDT before, like the space is totally transformed. The audience sits in a 360 format. There's really amazing lighting. And as I mentioned before, for the sensitivity, but this is also for me a really exciting element of the work, that these are really sensorial, experiential kind of works that involve like the audience sitting in the environment of the dancers. And, you know, there's live music, there's elements of drag, there's like, there's a beautiful intimacy to some of these, to my work that I think is really exciting. And for those who are curious about, you know, maybe an experience is a little bit more outside of the box than just, you know, sitting in the typical Italian sit down and watch kind of format. This is really a show that could be really exciting for them.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's also for me like the best way to experience art. So I appreciate you saying that. And yes, absolutely. I think everybody knows their own comfort level, but I think this is the way to experience art these days, especially after feeling like we got disconnected from each other for a while, right? So thank you both again so much. Lovely to speak with you. And I'll be sure to post the Instagram handles so that folks know how to find you and the website as well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
you.